Morning, call this meeting to order. The regular January meeting of the Montana Board of Public Education. Today is Friday, January 24th, and we are meeting at the Montana School Boards Association headquarters at 863 Great Northern Boulevard in Helena. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll. Here.
Lisa Schmidt. Here. Julie Maxwell.
Here.
Madeline Quinlan. Here. Jane Hammond. Here. Renee Rasmussen.
Here.
Gavin Mao.
Excused.
Superintendent Headland's office.
Here.
Commissioner Christian's office. Here. Governor Jean Forte's office.
Here. Board of Public Education encourages the public to participate in board discussions. Persons who wish to participate should sign the public comment sign-in sheet and identify themselves to the board chair or executive director prior to the board's consideration of the matter to which the persons are concerned. Anyone wishing to participate in board discussions will be recognized by the chair and keep it with normal board parliamentary procedures. We discourage public comment on personnel matters and ask that you discuss these issues in private with the board chair. Montana Board of Public Education is a professional development unit provider. Attending a Board of Public Education meeting may qualify you to receive professional development units. Please complete the necessary information on the sign-in sheet if you are applying for professional development units. And with that, I'd like to ask if there's any visitors like to be introduced, and I'm going to put them on the spot. I'm going to ask Deputy State Superintendent Ron Whitmire to introduce himself.
Good morning. I think that was introduction enough, Deputy Superintendent. What else can I add, Tim?
You got a lot.
Okay, I do have just a real quick little spiel. I am truly honored to be the deputy. I'm so thankful that you chose me. I'm looking forward to bright new tomorrow with the Office of Public Instruction. Susie's the perfect fit to lead us into greater and better things in the coming days. And I am the former East Helena school superintendent. I served in East Helena for 19 years as their superintendent, but I have a track record. They had to put up with me for 37 years.
Oh my gosh.
Before I decided to retire. And so I came out of retirement to help Susie on the interim. I'm a temporary employee and will go back into gracious and wonderful retirement in a few months. But I hope to help kickstart things to make it a new tomorrow.
Thank you, Ron. Other visitors that could be introduced.
Julie Murgo, Chief Program Officer, the Montana Office of Public Instruction. Crystal Smith, Education Innovation Manager at the Office of Public Instruction.
We will continue on. Do anybody online that wants to hands up?
No hands up.
Alrighty. We will continue with our meeting. We are on item number 20, action on MSDB Superintendent 24-25 contract. Board members, you have that contract in your black folder when we got here yesterday. Sir,
This Chair, if I'm ready to make a motion.
please do.
Thank you, sir. I'd move to approve the Montana School for the Deaf and Blind Superintendent contract. That's submitted.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second to approve the MSDB Superintendent contract for 24-25 as presented. Discussion. Whitmire, do you have anything you want to contribute?
Just want to say thank you and look forward to continuing that over the next 3 years at least with our partnership with this board. So I'll take the time to tell Ron welcome to the table. And Mr. Clapmeyer, good to see you. And I hope you and the governor got those packets I dropped off. That's it. I just look forward to continue working with this board on behalf of MSP.
Okay. For the record, we did Paul's evaluation yesterday and it came back very positive and continue to appreciate the fine work that he's doing for the students at MSDB and the challenges that he faces, being not only a public school administrator, but also as the head of a state agency as well. And we, in a unique role, serving as his school board, and it creates a unique challenge that those of us superintendents at the table never had to face. Very unique things there. His salary is in the contract as described, but depending on what legislation might come out of this session, especially regarding the quality educator component and how some things work out, there's a possibility that we would be coming back with an amendment to his salary at a future meeting. And you are, as previously discussed as well, you are on your way to wrapping up your doctorate. And once that is finished, that will result in a pay bump as well. So, Katie,
15-year plans. Yeah, that's why it's taken 15 years.
any further discussion? Any public comment on the MSDB superintendent contract? Any public comment online? All those in favor of approving the MSDB superintendent contract as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Paul. Continue on to item number 21, action on transformational learning grants. Board members, it's on page 197 of your board packet, and we welcome Crystal to the table.
Good morning. Good to be with you all today. Good morning, Chair Clark, members of the board. My name is Crystal Smith, SMITH, spelled for the record. I serve as the Education Innovation Manager at the Office of Public Instruction. Part of my responsibilities are overseeing the transformational learning and advanced opportunity grants. It's a privilege to be with you here today to share with you the most current and updated information that we have, as well as keep you apprised of the most recent application and annual reporting window that closed on January 13th. We have 4 action items today, as Chair Clark informed us. 2 of those are transformational learning, 2 of them for advanced opportunities. But I'd like to start with just a brief overview of the transformational learning grant to make sure we're all grounded in the same information. So, transformational learning grant is in its 6th year of funding per Senate Bill 8, which is currently what provides the funding for this grant. Districts must utilize a definition of proficiency-based learning, which is defined as an education system in which student progress is based on a student's demonstration of competence rather than based on seat time, age, or grade level. If you remember, the transformational learning grant was intended to provide incentive for innovation back in 2019 per discretion of the local school board. And in order for districts to apply for this grant, they had to provide a board-approved definition of proficiency that did not require seat type, a transformational learning strategic plan, and a completed board signed application in this non-competitive grant format. Newly applying districts, as well as currently funded districts that look for an increase of FTE, are rank ordered via a lottery system that has been conducted in previous years and in this year through the Carroll College of Math Department. There are currently 24 school districts that are funded in fiscal year 25 for transformational learning. The amount of funding is received is based on multiplying the FTE that each school district identifies as helping support and carry out their transformational learning plan, multiplied by 50% of the previous year's quality educator payment. So that's how we determine the funding level per district. Some districts are funded at full FTE. Some districts have decided that they even, we have, I think, grass range is at 0.5 FTE, right? So the amount of funding is really based on what the needs and the plans are per the school district. Districts are funded for 4 consecutive years, and we know that this grant is expected to sunset after fiscal year 27, so a few years left of it. Qualified districts can utilize these funds for a number of activities that support their identified transformational learning plan, which include developing transformational learning plans for each participating pupil that honor students' interests, passions, strengths, needs, and culture, embed community, online, in-person, and face-to-face instruction. Provide effective professional development that assists employees and teachers from transforming transitioning from a traditional education system to a transformative one. And finally, ensuring equality of educational opportunity to all participating pupils in the district. Prior to moving into the first action item, I would like to stand for any questions that the board may have regarding the transformational learning grant.
Board members have any questions? Yes, board member Hammond.
Krista, what is your assessment of the success of this program?
Chair Tharp, member Hammond, when you look back to 2019, when this grant came about, it really was that that opportunity to incentivize districts to do something different, right? And so when we look at districts that are now their second and third years of funding, those districts applied for this grant back under with that understanding, right? That they were trying to gather some funds to do something different to help determine or transfer into a more personalized opportunity for students to learn. So when you look at that initial definition, and you can see on the annual reports that I submitted as well as the summaries, like there are tremendous movements towards personalization opportunities for students that without this grant, there would not be the case for students to be able to have that, right? Or at least district leaders would have to find different avenues to fund that. When you look at the new language that's in Senate Bill 8, which is much more around districts must implement this personalized proficiency-based learning, I think that's more challenging, right? Especially when you have, again, district leaders who thought that they were receiving these funds based on a preconceived notion of, you know, we want to try some things. And so I think the stakes have been elevated over the years. And so it really depends on the lens that you look at. Executive Director Flynn and I had the opportunity to present 2 times to the Ed Interim Budget Committee back in September and then again in December with some follow-up questions that they had. And we provided a survey to districts that had been funded for the 4 consecutive years. And when you look at what was initially outlined, in their requirements and what they self-reported, there really is true alignment that they have upheld the initial vision of this grant.
Board member questions? But I appreciate receiving this as a PDF link rather than submitting hundreds and hundreds of pages to us. I appreciate that ability to just pull it up online. Any other board member questions? Anyone ready to make a motion?
Chair Tharp, I'm ready to make a motion. I'll have 2 on this set. The first one though is I move.
I think she's first, yeah, I think she's.
Oh, did you have more to
I
present?
got a little bit more, yeah.
I apologize. Just trying to be efficient.
That's okay. I'll make it quick. So the first action item on your agenda is a qualification of the fiscal year 26 transformational learning applications.
Gotta tell you.
One district applied for in the most recent application cycle. That was Red Lodge School District. However, and we're on page 199 of your board packet. You'll find the link to the district's application. And while there's currently a wait list for previously funded districts to receive funding, as well as the sunset date looming, we know and we've communicated with districts that there is a very slim possibility that they will actually receive funding. Red Lodge actually submitted their district after the closing window. It was late coming in, but regardless, they understand the picture of funding and where they would stand. So at this time, I would like to recommend to the board the approval of the sole district, Red Lodge School District for the fiscal year 26 transformational learning application.
Dr. Slinger.
Thank you, Chair Tharp. Thank you, Crystal. At this time, I'd make a motion to move to qualify transformational learning grant applications as presented.
Got a motion from Dr. Slinger, seconded by board member Schmidt. Any discussion? Board member discussion? Questions? Any public comment? Any public comment online? You've heard the motion and second is proceed to a vote. Any all those in favor of approving this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on. So from December 2nd, 2024 to January 13th of 2025, funded fiscal year 25 transformational learning districts had to submit an annual report, communicating their progress towards their district's measurable objectives, and then creating or providing some other data in order to qualify for funding for fiscal year 26. Beginning on page 201 of your board packet, you'll find a list of these districts in order of current funding that submitted the completed annual reports during this window. Please note that Potomac Elementary, identified with an asterisk on that list, submitted their completed report after the 5 p.m. closing window on January 13th. Due to superintendent and clerk turnover, my emails are not getting out to them. And so we rapidly help support Potomac in getting that completed in a little bit of a delay, but it came through. So on page 202, you will find a link to the folder housing all of the annual reports that were collected, as well as summaries for each of those districts, highlighting what they have decided as most important and successful within their transformational learning progress. So at this time, I recommend that the board approves the annual reports submitted by the districts under the 2024 transformational learning annual reports.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion if that's acceptable. Thank you. I move to approve transformational learning grant annual reports as presented.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Dr. Slinger, seconded by Board Member Rasmussen, to approve the transformational learning reports as presented. Discussion. I appreciate the grace and assistance extended to districts. This board in the past has also tried to work with those school districts experiencing turnover, and it can be extremely frustrating when, especially when you have a very small school and you have those 1 or 2 gatekeepers are no longer there trying to figure out who's doing what, and then when the new people take over, they don't know what they're supposed to be doing because it's right. So we appreciate that. Any discussion on these? I didn't see all the different things that folks are doing, the different innovative ways that they're approaching this. So, any public comment? Public comment online? Done. We will proceed to a vote. All those in favor of accepting the annual reports for transformational learning, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Crystal, that runs to item 21. Item 22. That's opportunities.
Thank you, Chair Tharp. Moving on to the Advanced Opportunities Grant. As a brief summary, this grant, the Montana Advanced Opportunities, is in its 5th year of funding. The purpose of this grant is to expand personalized opportunities for students to accelerate their career and college readiness and reduce out-of-pocket costs for families. There are currently 95 districts funded by this grant in fiscal year 25, which are ranked ordered on a first come, first served basis. Funding is determined by a percentage of the district's total quality educator payment from the previous year, multiplied by that percentage. So K-8 districts are funded at 4.5%, K-12 districts are funded at 18%, and high school districts are funded at 30%. These percentages increased to these amounts during the 2023 legislative session through House Bill 257, which currently funds this grant. There is a 75-25 split of the funds that districts receive. A minimum of 75% of the funds have to go to offset family and parent out-of-pocket costs for post-secondary pathways that align to students' interests, passions, strengths, needs, and culture. And then a maximum of 25% of those districts' funds can be used to expand and personalize, implement and grow CTE programs at the district level. There's no sunset for this grant, so we are optimistic that it will continue to be funded through the legislative process. Before moving on to the next 2 action items, I stand for questions that the board may have regarding the Montana Advanced Opportunities Grant.
Yes, Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is that first come, first served model required by law, or is that just
Chair Tharp, Mr. Klapmeyer, it is wrote into law. It is found in the bill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Crystal, can you talk a little bit about the funding levels? So you have a comment in your executive summary sheet that says there's potential for 2 million to be added. What's the current amount now?
Chair Tharp, member Quinlan, so the current amount is a $4 million allocation per fiscal year. Through the STARS Act, which in my conversations with Mr. McCracken and looking at some of that documentation, there is a proposal for $2 million to be added to that, which would fully fund the current wait list as well as fund all of the districts that have applied in the fiscal year 26 cycle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it 2 million a year or 2 million for the buy-in?
Chair Tharp, per Quinlan, I am not sure.
I'll pull it up. So it's 1 million a year, is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm sure I'll pull it up.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do the same.
Board Member Maxwell.
Thank you, Chair Thurman. So I was wondering, so is this available for everyone regardless if they take advantage of the STARS Act in the future? Or do they have to be taking advantage of the payments from the STARS Act in order to qualify for this money?
Chair Tharp, member Maxwell, so the STARS Act is a budgetary proposal that will add some different amounts of funding to different I believe already programs or packages that are occurring. The Advanced Opportunities Grant isolates outside, I guess, of that, so there's no requirement to participate in the STARS Act per se, as far as I know. To qualify for funding. This funding is available for all public school districts in the state of Montana.
Our executive director has an answer to member Quinlan's question.
I have half the answer. It is in House Bill 2, so I'm going to look at House Bill 2. 100,000 is going to OPI for advanced opportunity. But I need to look at the Section E report really quick. I'm sorry.
Other board member questions?
I will say that the bill is going to be held on, the STARS Act bill has a hearing on Wednesday next week.
As a follow-up to Dylan's question, is the first come, first served component restrictive to anybody? Is that left anybody in the dust?
Sure, sir. I believe early on it did, when these funds were in their infancy stage and, we had 40 or 50 districts applying. There's only $750,000 available in that first year. It did restrict the amount of districts that were funded. If you recall, previous to the 2023 legislative session, we actually had a significant amount of funds that were carried over because districts had not applied. And I think we can try to justify why that would be, obviously we had COVID, we had, an excess investor dollars. But we have in the last 2 years, had a wait list for these funds. Granted, it's been small right now, it's $106,000 and we were short of funding all districts from the fiscal year 25 application cycle. So I would say no, because we don't see the trend of all of these districts applying on the first day of the window opening at 8 a.m. Right? I've had several districts that have trickled in, through the month of December and into January, even though communicating it is first come, first served. And, last year some districts missed out on funding simply because they did not have their application in early on. So we just don't see the trends of the, 10 people trying to get the first one to submit their application and then the application window.
Yeah, especially with this winter that we've had in many of our districts. I mean, we're one storm away from a district. All of a sudden, superintendent is out shoveling the walk and towing a bus out of a ditch, not being able to sit in his office and her office and click the send button at 8 a.m. So it's, I appreciate the fact that it hasn't been restricted recently. Any other questions for Crystal? Nation again.
All right, so thank you, Chair Tharp. The next action item is on the agenda, or on your agenda is a qualification of fiscal year 26 Montana Advanced Opportunity applications. 25 districts applied in the most recent application cycle. On page 206 of your board packet, you'll find a list of these districts ordered by submission date. At the end of the list, there is a link to the compiled applications. While there's currently a wait list for the previously qualified districts, we anticipate, like I said, the additional funds that hopefully are generated in order to fund all of these districts. So at this time, it is my recommendation that the board approves the 25 Montana Advanced Opportunity applicants for fiscal year 26.
Chair Thorpe, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please.
I move to qualify the advanced opportunity grant applications as presented.
We have a motion to approve those 25 applicants.
I'll second that.
Second by board member Rasmussen. Either board member discussion. Public comment? Public comment online? See to a vote. All those in favor of qualifying those 25 applicants signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carries.
Great, action item number 4. So Chair Tharp, members of the board, from December 2nd, 2024 through January 13th, 2025. Funded fiscal year 25 districts must submit an annual report to follow that 5M for fiscal year 26 funding. On page 211 of your board packet, you'll find a list of the districts in order of ranking and funding that submitted the completed annual reports during this window. Please note that the districts that have an asterisk by their name submitted their completed annual report outside of that closing of the window, and for several different reasons that I'm happy to share with you if you would like. At the bottom of page 212 of your board packet, you'll find a link to a folder that houses the compiled annual reports from all of these districts, as well as the summaries that I've created and provided for you to highlight the advanced opportunity offerings per funded district from fiscal year 25. So at this time, I recommend to the board the approval of the annual reports, which will qualify districts for fiscal year 26 funding for the Montana Advanced Opportunities Grant.
Motion.
Chair Thorpe, I do. I move to approve the advanced opportunity grant annual reports as presented.
That motion to approve the annual reports for the Advanced Opportunities Grant, or second? Second by board member Hammond. Board member discussion. Any public comment? Need to vote. All those in favor of accepting the annual reports for the Advanced Opportunity Grant signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else for us?
Chair Tharp and members, I just want to thank you for your time and your continued support of these two grants. I really believe that they provide autonomy at the district level to meet the needs of our students in the state of Montana. And as you spend some time looking through those annual reports and looking through the summaries, I hope you will understand and see the unique and transformative practices that we are experiencing and incurring throughout the state of Montana. So thank you for your time. I'm always happy to provide any additional information that the board may be seeking.
Before she leaves, I just wanted to take a moment and thank Crystal for the great presentations today on each of these items, but also recognize that she is our lead point of contact for our office at the University of Montana Western at the Office of Public Instruction on educator residency. And in this, what you saw today in our partnership and collaboration with our residency, it's just a remarkable responsive professional. We just enjoy so much the opportunity for us to work with you. The work that you do and the partnerships that we continue to build.
Thank you, Dr. Clay. Anything else for Crystal? All right. Take your time. Our next items are regarding Macy, and we're going to shuffle the agenda just a little bit. We're going to jump down and do item number 24, information on the governor's budget request, and we believe we have April Brady online. For instance, we started on page 18 of your packet. Wait, Mr. Whitwer, do you have any humorous anecdotes you'd like to share? Ron? Nothing.
Yeah, it's got- it's good.
It's gonna be a long meeting.
Technology is a wonderful thing when it works exactly the way we want it to work.
Mr. Chair, can we just take a quick break?
Yeah,
while I
we'll go
figure
ahead.
out- Okay.
We'll take a quick recess. We'll recess for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Reconvene at 9:05. All right, call the meeting back to order and we will continue with item number 24, information on governor's budget request. And I believe we got April in the room. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so we did put in, this is just regarding Macy, correct? This item number?
Correct.
Okay, so in the governor's budget request, we submitted a present law adjustment for the Macy budget of $15,000 in each year of the biennium. The current general fund budget for Macy is $5,835. The $15,000 request will bring that base budget to $20,835 for each year of the 2027 biennium. So that funding will cover the travel costs associated with the council meetings. Don't know if you have any other questions, but that's pretty much.
Okay. Does the governor's office have anything to add to this?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair, and April, the governor's office was supportive of, getting Macy to keep up their budget. It's been pretty stagnant for a while. During COVID, they've been doing a lot of online meetings, but are looking for opportunities to get more in-person events and support their efforts there.
Well, and I appreciate the governor's office support of this. This is something that's been talked about for, I know, at least 8 years. And talking about line items specifically for Macy. In the past, they serve as an advisory council to both the OPI and the Board of Public Education. And we jointly try to support them, but have always felt that they deserve their own line item budget in order to perform their activities. So I guess that's a question for our executive director. Call, where will these dollars live? Are these living at OPI or they're living with us?
Mr. Chair, these will live with the Office of Public Instruction, just like they manage the accounting for Macy prior to this funding. It'll just be a line item that they didn't actually previously have.
Okay. Great. Any other questions for the executive director of the governor's office or for it?
Mr. Chair, I just have a comment. I'm very grateful for this. This is a priority for this board. We talked about last fall to reinvigorate and support Macy, and I just so grateful for the governor's office seeing that and agreeing to that and supporting this key initiative advisory committee. So just grateful.
All right, this is an information item. When is this expected to be heard? Is it could show up in schedule in E, or where will this be heard? Okay. All right. April, when will you be presenting this?
So we have already presented to the joint subcommittee. We did that a little bit this week and last week. I'm not sure when they're going to take executive action. I don't think we've gotten that timeline yet, but it should be in the next upcoming weeks.
Look forward to hearing how this goes. All right, thank you, April.
Thank you.
All right, we'll jump back to item number 23. Board members, you can find this on page 215 of your packet. Right, Jordan to the room. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I heard Macy in the winds, so I joined. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. So Macy had our last meeting on January 8th, and it was a joint work session and informational session. And we heard from a few folks around the state, and we got some more information on tribal consultation. And I'm gonna backtrack also a little bit, just to inform you. I, as the chairperson, met with the Montana ACLU and some other folks concerning the Yellowtail lawsuit, and I would be more than happy to share information on that. But it was mostly a meeting about how Macy provides consultation or advice to the Office of Public Instruction and the Board of Public Ed, and they had questions about our systems of information. And after Macy provides advice, where does it go from there? ACLU members will be joining our next Macy meeting in February, on February 5th. I sent the updated goals to McCall last week. I realized that they weren't on the Board of Public Ed's website. So those have been updated and they were adopted back in October. I also sent our newly adopted recommendations for expenditures for both IFA and our American Indian Student Achievement Gap. Other notable amends that the Office of Public Instruction fill the position that was recently occupied by Joan Frankie. She was an administrative assistant, but also she handled a lot of other things. And so that's been a little bit difficult to navigate without having Joan's position filled. And then we gave some information. McCall invited the Montana Advisory Council on Indian Education to a joint meeting for July. And so we'll be sharing more information about that and encouraging Macy members to attend that. I plan on doing so myself. I think that's really all from our last meeting. Any questions or comments? I sent the updated goals both to McCall and the new superintendent of public instruction, as well as our funding recommendations. I hope to continue our conversations about our funding recommendations throughout the rest of this fiscal year. But are there any other questions or?
Board Member Rasmussen.
Did we get a copy of the goals in our?
Mr. Chair, Board Member Rasmussen, we don't have them in your packet.
Okay.
They are online.
Okay, they are on the website.
Yeah, we had a list of their goals. It just wasn't the updated version. So I did update those on Monday. So it's on our website.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jordan. I think it would be helpful if you wanted to address generally the recommendations that we have in our board packet from Macy related to how districts spend their money for the American Indian Student Achievement Gap and also for Indian Ed for All.
Sure.
For a little bit about the process that Macy went through.
Absolutely. Thank you. So what we had started doing is we just started, so there's obviously two separate categories. And so we started to, as a board, just talk about identifying gaps that we saw and how money can be best suited for the benefit of not only our students, but also our staff that is in charge of supporting these endeavors. So I'll go ahead and start with the student achievement gap funding and how school districts spend their respective funding. So the recommendations, number one, culture teachers should be tribally specific in their content and language delivery. So making sure that our educators are intentionally hired to address whatever community they're serving. All of our reservation communities have a shared history, but they are uniquely and distinctly different. And so just being intentional about bringing on language experts. The district should encourage to hire cultural specialists and coordinators for their communities. We've identified that not every district has a person who's in charge of addressing the American Indian Student Achievement Gap. Sometimes it falls under things like student services. But we want to make sure that those funding dollars that are meant to address specifically American Indian Student Achievement is being funneled to those students and to those efforts. School districts should provide transportation for both academic and cultural enrichment opportunities for student, staff, guest speakers. So really just kind of expanding how we think about funding expenditures. We can have these grander plans of doing this and that in different school buildings, but also just the logistics of what that looks like in our day. So I always give the example of during Heritage Week and Heritage Month, we set up 21 different lodges at all of our buildings across the district, which is great and wonderful and a learning opportunity. But how do we get there? How do we transport what turns out to be, you know, over 100 lodge poles? So things like that, just the logistical pieces. So I'm going a little bit further just beyond the educational standpoint of in the moment and teaching students, how do we provide districts, or how do we guide districts with certain types of funding that will best suit their needs? School districts should provide meals for students, family, and community members for both academic and cultural gatherings. So we've been having conversations for at least 2 years now about how funding, we've been told that funding cannot be spent on food items. And if we want to operate our educational programming to support things like tutoring after school or before school, it's really going to be beneficial to also be able to provide things like snacks, food items for both the students or their families if we're asking them to participate in after school gatherings. The Office of Public Instruction, Board of Public Ed, in coordination with school districts, should provide adequate and reoccurring in-person school board trainings. That's something that we talked about this summer with our time spent together in that July meeting when Mr. Small joined us, in terms of how do we intentionally call in community members, but also really being able to provide them with education around the functions of an effective school board. I want to back up just a little bit. So I also added in this that we're asking for support either by the appropriate entity based on their respective extent and breadth. So understanding that this list is, I don't want to say idealistic of us, but I want to say that we're uncertain at times the extent and breadth of both entities and what the Board of Public Ed and the Office of Public Instruction are able to do. So we're not saying you need to do this now. It's more of an invitation to a conversation of what falls under whom and what are next steps for that. The Office of Public Instruction and or the Montana State Legislature should provide literacy and mathematics improvement efforts through the funding. So intentionally funding those specific efforts. American Indian students historically have been on average about 12 percentage points behind their non-native peers in their academic achievement in both literacy and mathematics. So how can we address those two specific subject matters? School districts should make their annual application for Indian education federal funding available to parents, community members, and any member of the public. So every year through our federal funding process, it's not money that we just get. It's a grant cycle that has to be completed throughout the school year. There's three different steps to that. And what we mean by this is after a school district applies for that funding, so the last phase of this grant cycle happens in the spring. After they submit their completed application, we're asking that school districts make that application public. There's been circumstances where school districts have applied for this funding saying we're doing this, that, and the other thing. And come to find out, parents realize that that's not true. That's not what's being provided to their students. So making school districts more accountable in terms of if you're saying you're doing this, we want to see it, but also we want to say what you're applying for and ensure that what you're saying you want to do for our students is actually coming to fruition. School tutoring and educational efforts should be delivered through research-based techniques and guidance. So making sure that we are intentionally practicing literacy, mathematics, any other tutoring opportunities based on what research is telling us is working for our students. School districts should incorporate the OPI's Indian education whole child model. Crystal Hickman does a really good job of presenting that, and it's all available on the Office of Public Instruction website, but just being culturally responsive to our Indigenous students. And then similar to reporting required for EFA funding. So I don't want to call it the Windy Boy Bill, but I don't know what else to call it, that transparency for what school districts are doing with their EFA funding. We would like the same thing for our Indian Student Achievement Gap funding, making sure that school districts are reporting that, and again, being transparent with how they're spending their funding. And then this is this is fluid. It's subject to change based on the will of the Montana Advisory Council. So, what's been identified as a problem last month, we might identify a new problem and add that to our list of recommendations. Is that what you were hoping for? I didn't mean to reread it to you. I just wanted to explain a little bit.
And I see there's a similar one for Indian Ed for All. I'm not sure we have time to go through this, but I did want to suggest, because that a version of this should also be provided to the school business officials, because they often advise school districts on what they can do with their Indian Ed for All money, and maybe some of these kinds of recommendations would be helpful in terms of inspiring school districts about how to spend their money.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Board member questions for George? Yes, Dr. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and not a question, but good morning, Jordan. Always good to see you. One of the things that I think is really important to recognize about this important intentional work that's happening with Macy is that we at the university system have the opportunity to plug into every single one of their meetings and every ounce of this work. And I think that that's particularly important, especially as I'm sitting here looking at a document that was shared with me from the American Indian College Fund just a couple of weeks ago. And in this document, they cite the fact that and these statistics come from the National Center for Educational Statistics. American Indian and Alaskan Native enrollment in post-secondary education declined by 40% between 2010 and 2021. And now for all of you who are sitting around this table, because I often bring you the Montana University System American Indian student enrollment numbers, that is not the case in the Montana University system. In fact, we have seen close to 30% enrollment growth in the last 8.5 years across the university system campuses. We're seeing growth in completions, 35% growth in American Indian student enrollment on our 2-year campuses. And I would offer that what we're seeing at the Montana University system is due in large part to strong K-12 connections with Macy, with you folks at this table. And we're seeing it not just here or there, we're starting to see it more strategically on all 16 of our campuses. So I just cannot thank our partners at Macy and Jordan enough for making sure that we get to be a part of that dialogue to connect K-12 students in an intentional way to the Montana University system, because I think we're seeing chaos year in and year out with our data. So thanks, Jordan.
Thank you. Thank you for all of your support and your efforts as well.
Mr. Chair, I'll just add one more thing. I think for July, we have a process built in for discussing Macy's work and how we can advance Indian education for all. So these 2 documents that are here, I think, will be very helpful for the board.
Yes, absolutely.
And Mr. Chair, if I can add on to that, I think I've been trying to think about good next steps for this information because, as you've all noted, there are more entities included in this than just the Board of Public Ed. And I think it makes sense, when we do some reassignments, working with the new Macy liaison, to really go through this document and sort of label each of these as whose responsibility or who might play a role in each of those, so that we can sort of better understand too what it is that what we really need to focus on and where we can really encourage other entities to work on these things as well. And I think, I mean, we have 2 meetings between now and July, so I actually want to be able to bring something to July to the discussion when we're meeting face to face with Macy folks and say, here are some action steps that we think we can take to help accomplish these things. I think we have enough time between now and July to do that. And I would like to see us in a position to actually have some action items to propose to them at that meeting. Otherwise, I think we let too much time pass. So I'm dedicated to working on this in the interim. I'm certainly trying to go to as many Macy meetings, although right now it's a little kooky, but I will commit to going to as many as I can. And Jordan and I have great communication. So if there's any questions or anyone from this board has questions, I'm happy to relay those.
And also, as the board is in a little bit of transition, we're bringing a new member on for this meeting, and we'll have another new member at our next meeting. We are going to definitely be striving and getting a liaison appointed and somebody who's interested in that. And so that's a possibility for somebody if they want that. I took it on for this meeting here, but we're happy we want to continue this work. And the exciting thing I think for Macy is that their previous Board of Public Education liaison is now state superintendent. And so we know that we've got that support. And so not only looping BPE and Macy together in July, we certainly look forward to having OPI at the table as well and having a brainstorming session on ways that we can all work together. Because like what you said in this document here, I mean, these aren't demands. I mean, I guess heard the word aspirational probably would be a good description of these things in ways that we can work together. And now I think we're in a position where we can work together, not just informally, but formally to figure out, okay, what can be done? What are these things that we can actually accomplish to get these goals moving forward? So looking forward to that exciting opportunity. Anything else for us today, Jordan?
No, thank you so much. Thank you for your words. And yeah, I just want to reiterate, like, I intentionally said within whoever's breadth of power, understanding that this is a multifaceted, ongoing conversation. There's just not one entity that can handle all of this stuff. So I look forward to that conversation. I will say that I was actually scheduled to return today from North Carolina. They have a similar board. They call it SACE. So it's the State Advisory Council on Indian Education. And I was going to speak at their event, but also observe how they operate their entity to serve their state. I wasn't able to go. It's been postponed to February. I wasn't able to go because it snowed. And I'm not laughing at them. It's just funny to think about that. So it snowed in North Carolina and everything, it's one of those states where everything just shuts down. So after February, I look forward to reporting to Macy as well as you all how they operate their State Advisory Council on Indian Education. And hopefully it doesn't snow in February. So we'll see.
All right, thank you, Jordan.
Thank you so much.
Great. Moving on, we are now down to item number 25. This is action on resolutions to approve and deny public charter schools. We have an hour set aside for this. I want to continue our discussion, board members, from yesterday. I don't want us to rehash and the exact same things again, but we have had the opportunity of time. A night to sleep on it, or a night to not sleep on it, as the case might be, and just want to continue the discussion. We are basically, I think we have agreement in principle on the resolution for all but one of the schools. And so at this time, board members open it up to continue board member discussion on this. Board Member Schmidt.
Would you like to go through each one, or are we just talking about the one that we?
Just the one. I think we're pretty much, I think we're all in agreement, and I think we're ready for a resolution on all of the other ones. The approval or the denial. We have two different resolutions prepared to go, but we still need to figure out which way the final one is going to be kicked.
I have a comment. I did not sleep on this one last night, because I was thinking about this. I expect a challenge, whichever way we end up deciding, and I'm a risk taker in terms of pushing the envelope of the law so that we can support effective education for all students. However, I'm disappointed that the applicants didn't take advice that said, ask for a bill to clarify this, or ask for an attorney general opinion. I think there was an opportunity for that, and they chose to not pursue that so that the law is clarified for us. I'm actually very disappointed about that.
The board members. Or Quinlan.
Mr. Chair, I feel like the solution to this issue is in the legislative process. And I think there's an opportunity to try to address these questions right now while the legislature is in session. The legislature created public charter schools, and I think that's the place for this question of how you could have in-person student education in, I'll call them classrooms that are not in the located district. And whether that's, if that was an intention of the public charter school as an innovative idea, then to me, we talk a lot about staying in our lanes, and I think this needs to go back to a legislative decision related to that. It was very clear to me yesterday that we all want to try to help this work for students in Hutterite communities, and that there are definite educational needs, especially related to cultural preservation and English as a second language. So that's where I stand right now. I mean, I don't feel there's any point in approving something so that we send it to court, because my experience every 4 years later or whatever, and that's no faster than trying to do this through a legislative solution. So at this point, I'm not comfortable approving the charter school application for Liberty Elementary.
Dr. Slinger.
Thank you. I completely agree. I'm not in favor of approving this. I fully respect their desire, what they're trying to accomplish. I don't think we're the mechanism to do that. I don't think this, I think there are other avenues to try and pursue. I would encourage them to do that, but I think we would be setting an incredibly dangerous precedent. I also believe we do not have, I don't believe we have the authority to overstep what the law says. And the law does not allow what they're asking to do. So for me, it is pretty cut and dry on this one. I do not, I mean, and as far as the various concerns that were brought up by board members, I truly appreciate all of you trying to make it work and so forth. But at no time should we, I realize my fellow board members are risk taker, but I don't believe that's our role. I believe our role is to simply follow the process that we had, which we did. And I believe our role is to, we're not here to create new law. That is not our role. Our role is to simply implement the laws that are there. And in approving this, I believe we would be doing a disservice to that. So I will be a no vote on this. And I am firm on that. This is not a waffling or someone needs to try and convince me. I am a no vote.
The board member discussion.
Well, I too didn't sleep much. I very much support moving ahead. I agree with the letter that the governor wrote. And I believe to be able to move forward, we should at least indicate our support for this charter and the need for it. And work to reach out to the education committees, point out very clearly what the problem is to them. And I agree with you, Madeline, it's up to them to fix it. And we should be under pressure to help support them in fixing it.
Governor's office.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't intend to engage on this anymore, but just wanted to make a technical point. Since board member Schmidt brought up the Attorney General's opinion, Iceland can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that school districts can request an Attorney General opinion, but the Board of Public Education could. And short of, not just for this application, but short of legislative action to clarify this, that might be something that the board wants to look into for this or future applications.
I do believe it, I agree with staying in our lane. And I would really, I think this application addresses a tremendous need. A unique need. And the problem with the whole situation is it is unique. I think that it could be our role to make sure that the legislature understands this problem and situation, because they can't foresee everything. And like I said, we talked about yesterday, there's always cleanup stuff. And I think that that is within our purview to acquaint them with the situation and how this plays out. And it is not our job to go beyond that. We're not the lawmaking entity, but I don't, other than them clearing this up, or the Attorney General, I didn't know. Other than that, or Attorney General's opinion that would be in there, would say, yeah, they're good. This is the reason why. I can't vote for it either, and I also am a firm no, not because I don't want to, not because I don't like it, not because I don't think that there is a need, none of those reasons. I just don't think we have the ability to.
Schmidt.
Thank you. This is a procedural question. Could we can we postpone this decision and ask for an Attorney General's opinion? I think the call told me we only have 90 days.
Right now, what the law says is that we must act within 90 days of receipt of the application, which would put that up next Wednesday. I can guarantee you that the AG's office is not going to turn us around in 48 hours. And so, but one thing, I know that we are not bound by not accepting another application. McCall, can you comment on that?
Yeah, I did look back at, Mr. Chair, I did look back at the statute, and it doesn't say that we have to have one application round each year. It just says that we have to publicize June 1st of each year. So we do that, and we've done that for this last year. I suppose, what I think you're getting at is that there could be an opportunity, if this is cleared up, that they could come back, and assuming they had everything in order, they could potentially be in a position to start this fall. I don't think anything prohibits that, though I probably would need to look into that a little bit more before I gave you a definite answer.
Could I add to that, Mr. Chair? One way or the other, this needs to be cleared either for further instruction, further input from the legislature, or
whatever, I think it behooves us to, I would be in favor of asking for an attorney general. It gives them information that they don't have. It gives us information we don't have, and it gives the legislature information that may switch or change or influence what they want to do. So.
So what is the question to the Attorney General? How would we word it?
Good question.
I believe the question would be is, do the provisions of the public charter school bill allow for remote instruction?
I think it's remote in person.
All of those things that we talked about yesterday, does it allow for those for things like under, like 118 and some of those other provisions? Does it allow for that?
Well, and Mr. Chair, I would argue too that we might want to think a little bit more about that. I think there are other questions around out of district offsite instructional settings and things that may also play into this. So I wouldn't limit the conversation today because there may be other things that need to be considered. And I'm just saying that, like, I don't think you all should like say that's the one thing because.
And also it's not on our agenda today. And what I would be inclined to do is have a special board meeting early next week, give us some time to think about this, and then have a special meeting where we would pass the resolution to ask the Attorney General's office for an opinion. And that would give us time to make sure that we ask everything that we want to get clarified. Rather, we're not in a position to do that today, nor would we be able to, even if we were, we're not in a position to give a complete request at this time. We need time to make sure that we ask all those different components. So our decision today is up or down on these. However, just because there's a down does not mean that there is not a window that we can still consider for the next school year. Vice Chair Slang.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, sorry, the lawyer trumps you.
I would defer to the lawyer, yes.
Yes.
I just want to let you know statutorily, the Attorney General has 3 months to get back to you once you've been in an opinion request. Or if it's too complex, even too complex, it needs additional time. So
I knew he wasn't going to give us 48 hours. Thank you for the 3 months. Okay. And especially with the legislature in session and everything else, it might lead to that other.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Vice Chair Slanger.
Chair Tharp, so in my opinion right now, it seems it's somewhat 3-3, although my one colleague hasn't commented yet today. I don't believe that meets the threshold we held as a priority for the others. I believe I'm ready to make a decision on this and move forward with resolutions. I mean, I don't think we're going to reach consensus, and I don't believe we need to reach consensus. I believe we already said the threshold before was you needed 5 or higher. I don't see how that's possible with this, just from the comments people have.
Vice Chair Slinger, are you in a position to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that to deny the Liberty application.
Substitute motion. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we express our support of the Liberty Charter application, and we indicate that we will have a special meeting to finalize the wording of an Attorney General's request.
I don't believe that would be in order. I don't think Dr. Slinger is going to accept that as a substitute motion for him. So, and I have already indicated that, and I will, that's my purview as chair. I will talk about components specifically for a special meeting early next week. And so I will address that. So I'm sorry, your substitute motion be out of order. Is there a second to Dr. Slinger's motion?
A substitute motion. I move that I would like to substitute that we accept the chart as presented to us with the The ones in blue, Bighorn, Butte, Libby, Ronan, and Central Montana Academy being approved. Lions Pathway, Laurel, Mission, Soar, Liberty, and Yellowstone being disapproved.
Director Slinger, do you accept that?
I'll accept that.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Call, in the past, we've passed resolutions.
We have to do it by resolution,
We need to do
Mr.
it by
Chair.
resolution.
Correct, so, I suppose what I'm looking for, I realize there's a motion and I do have all of the ones that Board Member Rasmussen said in a resolution to approve. So those are, ready to go based on the conversation from yesterday. The resolution to deny, I have based on the conversation from yesterday. I would quickly need to add, Liberty to that, if that's what I'm hearing. I don't have them anywhere yet. So would need to do that, and then you would need to act on the resolutions
Okay.
themselves.
Our process is for a resolution, not a motion. I would respectfully ask the person making the motion and second to withdraw the motion.
I will withdraw the motion.
Okay. Would somebody like to pass?
So Mr. Chair, really quick, what I hear from each of you is that, I guess I want to bring us back a minute and see if we are in a position that you all feel like we're going to take action on the resolutions that I have compiled from yesterday, correct? Okay, Mr. Chair, if it is okay with each of you, I will pull up the resolution so folks can see the one. We'll do the approval one first, since I think you have general consensus about that. Can always do Liberty on the separate one if that becomes confusing. And then during that process, you take public comment, you do all those things. Okay. So let me share my screen quickly, Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Director,
Yes.
Mrs. Director, I
Yeah.
apologize for jumping the gun with a motion.
We're fine.
Okay, Mr. Chair. Let's see here. And apologies. Okay, Mr. Chair, here's the resolution to approve. It has the same whereas clauses as last year, so none of that was changed. But then you do see the public charter proposals that you all signaled yesterday that you would like to approve in discussion during the work session.
And understand also this, this process is more than just a motion and thumbs up, thumbs down sort of thing, because once these are approved, then the work begins for McCall to go back, because then we have to engage in contracts with each and every one of these. And so that contract is not unsubstantial, it might be either. And so there's a lot of work involved. So that's the process here. Dr. Slinger.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as submitted, the approval of these 5 applications.
Got a motion to approve this resolution as presented. There's
I'll second it.
got a second by Board Member Schmidt. Board Member discussion. Any public comment on the approval of this resolution as presented? Yes.
Members of the board, honored guests, my name is Todd A. Hanson, Hanson, managing partner once again at Portable Educational Consulting. I rise on behalf of our client, Liberty Elementary School District, in support of their Liberty Academy charter school application. I just want to make a comment here. It's not the mandate given to this board under 549 to kick this can down the road to the legislature. In fact, your mandate is very clear, and I'd like to quote from House Bill 549. Section 4 says the Board of Public Education's responsibilities, number 1, in accordance with sections 1 through 14, the Board of Public Education is responsible for executing the following essential powers and duties. Subpart C says very clearly, denying approval of a charter proposal that fails to provide clear and convincing proof of their likelihood of success. There is no debate about the statute and the mandate given to this board in deciding whether you're going to approve or deny. Your limitation is there clear and convincing evidence that the applicant will fail in their likelihood of success. So we're off on a yellow brick road right now that is not actually contained in the statutory language of 549. In addition to that, I'd like to make a couple of additional comments. There is a need for clarification on a couple of critical components of the Liberty Academy Charter School application discussion from yesterday. First and foremost, the misinformation shared by MTSBA Executive Director Melton yesterday indicated that Liberty was not an eligible applicant seems to be in error because Liberty School District has been a recognized and accredited independent school district in the state of Montana since 1986. The Office of Public Instruction clearly recognizes Liberty Elementary as one of the over 400 school districts in the state of Montana. Therefore, they meet the minimum eligibility criteria under 549 to be an applicant. Second, for nearly 30 years, the 5 colony communities which have expressed their desire and intention to enroll their children in the Liberty Academy have received on-site instructional support directly from the districts of residence or through either interlocal or multi-district agreements with adjacent school districts. Due to no fault of their own, these communities, parents, and students have literally had their educational services ripped from under them. It is imperative that the board remember that these students have not been attached to, enrolled in, or receiving any educational services from any of their former districts of residence, or many in the past 18 months, and for a few of our members for the last 2 years. These communities, parents, and students have faced forced abandonment by implementing private educational models, which is what they didn't want to do, but they had no alternative but to privatize because the services were not being provided by the districts of residence, which were bound to do so. Without this public access to education, despite all of the constitutional guarantees to which they are entitled. Therefore, it is a false narrative to continue to believe that the districts of residence have a right to question the legality of the educational services being proposed to be provided to students through the Liberty Charter School option, as they had ample opportunity over this period of time to deliver these appropriate level of services, and despite repeated efforts of the parents to appeal directly to these districts of residence. As a side note, in one instance, they brought 40 Hutterite children into a board meeting asking why their students would no longer receive services from their district of residence. They were denied an audience. They were denied an explanation. Repeated letters were written to the districts of residence. Please explain your position as to why you refuse to provide services to these children. They denied and did not respond. In addition to this, we had endless efforts on the part of the Liberty Elementary School Board of Trustees to reach equitable arrangements through multi-district agreements that were proposed, revised, resubmitted, revised, resubmitted, revised, and resubmitted. All were denied. The districts of residence walked away from these students and families and communities. And finally, not unlike our friends and colleagues in the American Indian community, with whom we share a lot of similarities, as evidenced in today's comments during your discussion of the increased funding for Macy, the Liberty Academy will incorporate an educational model similar to that articulated in the Indian Student Achievement Gap funding and programming. It is the intention to integrate critical concepts of culture and language into the students' educational environment to enrich their educational experience. Like in Montana's tribal communities, to recognize and honor their cultural heritage. This was clearly outlined in detail in House Bill 214 in the 2023 legislative session, when indications were given that it was most appropriate if a district adjacent to a district that had ESL or ELL students who were either Native American or Hutterite colony communities, that they be given an opportunity to provide the best culturally rooted education available. That has been denied. That door has been slammed shut. The only opportunity that remains for these 65 children to receive a public education sits before you today. And you were outside the lines of your authority in trying to gerryman a solution that is not part of your purview. I would implore you to reconsider and approve this application as presented. Thank you.
The public comment. Any public comment online?
Folks online, can you please raise your hand if you'd like to give public comment? Seeing none.
Motion is before us to approve the resolution that's up on the board to approve charter school status for the 5 schools indicated. All those board members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Motion carries unanimously to approve this resolution. Our next obligation is to pass a resolution to deny the applications of the remaining. Executive Director Flynn will pull up that resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution is a little bit more in depth. As you'll see, the board is also required to state the reasons why you've denied. I tried to best take notes from yesterday as it aligned to the criteria of the board. And you'll see here, I listed where in the graph, folks earned the lowest score, so the 3 or less. And that is the information I added in here and based on your conversation. So, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to scroll or whatever you'd like me to do.
For the record, please read.
Sure. Mr. Chair, the resolution language at the top, the whereas and the therefores are the same as last year as well. For Yellowstone Experience School, you'll see here that the board denied this proposal based on lack of evidence for the high quality school governance and business operations proposal. Additionally, there were low scores and conversations of board that there would be clear and convincing proof of the likelihood of success and that they could open and operate a successful public charter school. Second, Lions Path Academy Charter School. This proposal was denied based on the lack of evidence of the high quality academic program proposal. For Laurel Virtual Academy, you'll see that this proposal was denied based on the lack of evidence of the community support and need, as well as the lack of evidence that the public charter school provided clear and convincing proof of the likelihood of success and that they could open and operate a successful public charter school. Mission Career Forward Charter Academy, the board denied this proposal based on the lack of evidence of high quality academic program proposal, as well as the lack of evidence that the public charter school provided clear and convincing proof of the likelihood of success and that they would open and operate a public charter school. SOAR Academy, the board denied this proposal based on the lack of evidence that the proposed public charter school met the statutory requirements to provide clear and convincing proof of the likelihood of success. And then finally, I just typed this one up quickly, so I'm open to feedback, but the board denied this proposal based on the lack of evidence that the proposed public charter school met the statutory requirements, specifically in reference to offsite instructional settings and remote instruction. Mr. Chair.
Board members, you have before you the resolution. Is there a motion to approve this resolution as presented?
So moved.
Motion by member Quinlan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Slinger. Board member discussion. Yes.
Mr. Chair, I was up all night as well. I've been formulating my thoughts over hearing my colleagues. While I wholeheartedly support the need and the importance of the Liberty Charter, lack of clarity surrounding the law and how it's set up obviously causes a problem and also can set up a dangerous precedent possibly for future districts. And I believe it is my job to represent, even though I have a special place in my heart for these communities because they were wonderful to me. But I believe it's my job is to represent all Montana students and districts. And I worry that the impact of vote would be supporting Liberty until these issues are sussed out. So my vote will be no.
The board member discussion.
Is it your opinion that Liberty belongs in this resolution?
This is our resolution to deny. it would be appropriate here.
But a subsequent resolution or motion is.
The resolution is to deny at this time. There's nothing that is prohibiting this board from opening things up pending the outcome of our request for an AG's opinion, which hasn't happened until we have our meeting, which has happened. But we have an obligation under the statute to make a decision within 90 days, and so this board needs to make a decision, at least where we are right now.
Okay.
Other board member discussion? Public comment? Any public comment online?
No hands up.
Make sure we understand the positives and negatives here, board members. This approving this resolution is to deny charter school status to these schools. All in favor of approving the resolution as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank all of the board members for the time and effort put into this. I want to thank all of the community members and all of the public comment received on this. This is a heavy duty that we've been given to approve or deny these public charter school status. And in my purview as chairman, I am going to call for a special meeting of the Montana Board of Public Education to occur on Tuesday morning. Board members, what is an appropriate time that you could participate? And for the record, board member Hammond is a member of this board until January 31st, and we are going to squeeze out every last January 31st. So she is still on this board for the special meeting next week. Board members, is there a time on Tuesday morning that works for you?
Mr. Chair, late morning for me, I'm testifying at the Capitol that morning.
Late morning?
So late morning, say 11 a.m. I think that hearing probably will be done.
Board members.
I'm open.
I'm open.
11 a.m. is perfect.
Flynn?
Oh, I mean, I'll make it work.
I'm gonna have to juggle something, but I'll make
Yeah.
it work. All right. So. Board members, your homework between now and then. Specific questions. Our loan agenda item will be, I don't know if it's a resolution or a motion. We have to pass a resolution to ask.
Mr. Chair, I think we should not make decisions right now about like what the motion is going to be in that. I need some time. I need to post the agenda, like we got 48 hours. So like we need a little time to figure out what this is going to be. So if we could just say, we're gonna have a meeting at 11, give me some time to work with legal counsel and others, and the flexibility is what I need.
Yeah,
actually.
we need that. And
Yeah,
so
thank you.
the point, board members, we're gonna figure out how we need to ask for an AG opinion. So I need us to all make sure that we know specifically what sort of things we want to ask now, how that has to be formulated for McCall to actually post the agenda and all of that sort of stuff, and whether that's through a motion or a resolution or how that all works, McCall needs time with legal counsel and all of that. But bottom line, board members, what questions do we want to ask?
Or need to.
And need to ask. And so what sort of things do we need to include in that end? But I'm not gonna tie McCall's hands into anything until.
Yeah, I would, and Mr. Chair, I would even say like, I'm happy for feedback right now, but
Oh, no, I don't want.
based off of what I hear, I mean,
That's
yeah.
what we should bring to.
No, that's what I want you to bring to the meeting.
Oh, thank
No,
you, thank you.
no.
I don't, yeah, like, yeah,
No.
thank you.
No, that's what you needed to have, be ready by Tuesday, which.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Board member Rasmussen, did I see your hand up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to add to this last resolution that we just passed, that this, I don't think that this has to be a permanent no for any of these applications. We discovered that based upon the system and the requirements that the law presented to us, that they did not meet those. I would really encourage all the applicants to look again at the requirements in the charter school, as well as the linkage that happens in the charter school section to the rest of the law, and make sure that applications meet those, and I encourage to resubmit because there were some great ideas.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I understand the meeting on Tuesday is about considering requesting an AG's opinion. If we have an interest in a legislative solution, is it appropriate to discuss that on Tuesday? Yeah, that to me is a more fruitful approach, and so I agree. I feel like some of those discussions need to begin right away.
I think that would be appropriate for us to talk about various options that we have. Of course, we are a state agency. We have that ability to propose legislation and try to move forward with that. We need to decide, as I think you said it earlier, where is our lane? Do we stay in our lane? How much do we want to push that? And how much do we want to just take the process that's given to us or affect that process? So I think that can all be part of a fruitful discussion on Tuesday. And I'll work with McCall to develop an agenda that appropriately and properly allows us to have that discussion as far as looking at what resolutions we can move forward with.
Thank you.
As we have talked about, we have this board in now this second session of going through these. I want to commend our staff, specifically our executive director, as she worked with developing the process. She did not at all go outside the lines of specifically what the law said. Our process, our chart, our evaluations and everything took the language directly from the statute. And that is what we evaluated, and that's the process that we used. And so I feel confident we have certainly stayed in our lane with what the expectation of the law has said. And if there are those who disagree, then the solution is a legislative solution. And in order to change that, if there is a different path forward, then we need to receive that from the legislature. And they're in town right now, and that opportunity is there. And that opportunity is there for us to consider, but that opportunity is also there for any other entity who wishes to influence the legislature as well. There's 150 of them who are who are capable of carrying a bill to make whatever edits need to be made to make this fit the way they want to. Board members, anything else on item number 25? Board member Schmidt.
I'd just like to reiterate what Board Member Rasmussen said, that I would encourage all of the applicants who were denied to consider the feedback that they've received through our discussions and advocate for themselves and advocate for the students who will benefit from these charter applications when we can approve them.
And Mr. Chair, I'm happy to include information on that when we send emails off, and encourage them to listen back to this meeting and to revise and clarify sections of their applications. I'm happy to do that.
And along with that, something we just heard earlier, the transformational learning grants, the advanced opportunity grants, there's so many exciting things going on in the schools, and the greater flexibility than they've ever had before. The charter process invites and encourages even more of that. Just find out how far we can continue to do that. But yeah, there's exciting things happening. Board Member Rasmussen.
One last thing, this was a new duty for us, assigned last legislative session, and none of us knew exactly what this was going to be about or how it was going to be like. We're in our second process now, and I don't know whether it was by design or happenstance, but I am extremely grateful and proud and just a lot of things of the work that we have done here. All of us have done here. There is no doubt, there's no one on this board that does not care first about the kids. You know, and that is amazing that is totally separate from really what the rest of our duties are. You know, for the Board of Public Ed, and I'm pleased that all of us took that so seriously and so to heart. And that we took our job and responsibilities as board members. I just am amazed about that, and I won't thank the legislature for giving us this. But I will say that I believe we've carried it out with fidelity.
Anything else on item 25 before we move forward? All right. Item number 26. This is not the last meeting. No, we're not going to skip it, but this is our last face-to-face meeting. Even no matter what the outcome of Tuesday, we're not going to have another face-to-face before the end of the 31st. But I want to recognize our outgoing board member who has served this board with distinction, and her passion for education and her passion for students has certainly been demonstrated over the years that I've known her, and it's never more so than her work these last couple of days. And as I indicated earlier, we are going to need another Macy liaison, and we're also going to need another charter school committee chair. And we've got big shoes to fill. We've Susie leaving the board and now Jane leaving the board, and they both brought a wealth of experience and knowledge, and most importantly, passion to the position. And so at this time, I would like to publicly thank Jane for her years of service and express our appreciation for her dedication to the students of Montana. And her work is not done. I think she needs to share with us what the 250 folks are going to be doing and what she's going to be doing with that. And the floor is now his hand.
Thank you. I'm not in much condition to accept the floor. I just want to say it's been a great honor to serve on this board. I think the purpose of life is having a purpose. And my goals have been to advance freedom, knowledge, and justice. And serving on this board has been a big part of that. And y'all are wonderful. You said that. I just say what you said about this board. Thank you.
But
So what's up next?
share about 250.
250. I'm on the commission. What do you want to share?
Tell us about what is this 250 that Tharp is talking about?
All right, well, what we're doing on the 250 commission is preparing to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America. The writing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 2026. And there will be all kinds of things. There is a contest right now. And I'm working with Mary Hellers and 9 of the CTA Skills USA program to put signs in every county. Historic signs saying history, isn't it nifty or whatever? And so those will be going up next spring. We've got a great program. And the supervisor, Mary, who's encouraging her, is Crystal, yeah. So she's giving us support. We're going to be doing a big event tied to the opening of the Montana Historical Society and History Museum. So it'll all be tied together. And the next big event will be on April 18th. I encourage you and every school and every community and church to put 2 lanterns in the window. That's called Share the Light of Freedom, because Paul Revere put 2 lanterns in the North Church.
What?
On April
She's
18th.
got me going.
On April 18th this year, it'll be 250 years from Paul Revere's ride. So that information should be going out soon. The national is very slow. And we're tied up with going to procurement for printing, and lots of things are going slow. But anyway, that's my frustration.
Sure, Thor. So, if you don't mind, Jane, you are an absolute delight to be around. You are a wonderful combination of keen intellect, but also caring heart and principled. And I've learned so much from you. I'm gonna miss not seeing you on this board. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the education you provided me, and thank you for everything you've done for K-12 education on this. Very grateful for you.
It's been a joy.
Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add to that. Jane and I met each other when we 40+ years ago. New employees at the Legislative Office of the Legislative Fiscal Analyst,
Right.
is what it was called then. And we have kind of stayed with each other over the years. At one point, Jane and I were co-chairs of the State Employees Combined Giving Campaign and worked together on that. And so it's been a pleasure to work with you now on the Board of Public Ed, and thank you for your service. Really appreciate
it. I've known you for a year, and you have taught me so much in that year. The context you provide and the perspective you provide, along with the humor. And I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your leadership and your service. Thank you.
I'm gonna miss you, Jane.
You're not gonna miss me.
Yeah, I'm not, never mind, I'm not gonna miss her. Apparently she's got something in mind. But I really, what I'm really gonna miss tremendously is your tremendous wide range of experience and background that brings so many perspectives to the board, things that I just don't have any clue about. And I just really appreciate that about your willingness. First of all, your memory, and secondly, your willingness to share and help us understand how your experience is applicable. Also miss just visiting with you and just having a good time and working with you toward a common goal. I wish you the very, very best.
My language connection to my brain has been impaired by my stroke, and I'm sorry. I apologize.
Thank you, Jane.
Oh, that's all language.
They never remember us by. It's not by the Potter.
Love it.
I'm glad you shared about the 250 because yesterday when you brought it up, you didn't explain what it was. You're like, oh, have fun at the 250. And I was imagining a motorcycle 250. Well, and I have to tell you, I just want to say thank you for all of your work, your strong partnership, and being a strong champion for all of the P20 work. But in particular, from where I sit, for being a strong champion for everything that I brought to this table. And I was just telling Dylan that one of my most fond memories of you, and each of you may remember this, was when we were at the School for the Deaf and Blind, and Scott Lemon came to present on the Apply Montana portal. And you were so impressed by that you said at least a couple of times that day and perhaps afterwards that you felt that he and Apply Montana should be the recipient of some type of an award. And it just was emblematic, I think, of what we have seen before that, at that time, and since of your belief in this common connection between K-12 and all the work that we're doing at the system level. So we thank you and we wish you all of the best and strong healing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Director Flynn, will you please bring us up to speed with our future agenda items in our next meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously your next meeting now, it's next week. I hope that to be one agenda item. I'll work on that literally right after this, so I'll hopefully get something out to you guys sooner than later. Mr. Chair, next meeting after that will be March 11th and 12th. Please note that this is actually a Tuesday, Wednesday meeting. So it's not like our typical Thursday, Friday. We will be meeting in East Helena, which will be great. Go see their new school. They also have a charter school that we'll go see. It'd be a nice little change of scenery. So we'll be meeting there. You'll see the list of items that we have now. Just a reminder, this is just the list that we keep on going. You'll see it in every agenda packet. We work with the Office of Public Instruction to really set a lot of these agenda items. Mr. Chair, I'm happy to take questions if anyone has them, but otherwise, I think we can move to public comment.
Prior to that, you want to let board members know our
Oh, sure.
tours?
Sure, thank you. We finished a little early today, so we'll have a little bit of downtime before board members head over to Exploration Works. It's just right across this way, to see the Mount Ascension Learning Academy Charter School that's part of Helena here. And then we'll head up to Central School, where you'll have a roundtable lunch with some of the parents and administrators and teachers to talk about all three of the charters. And then after that, we'll do a quick tour of one of their Montessori charters. Unfortunately, you only see 2 of the 3 charters, but PAL does not have class today. But Jenny will be touring that on her own at a later date. We'll report back. Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll open up for general public comment for anything not already listed. Any public comment? Any public comment online? Right, our next meeting will be a special meeting held via Zoom next Tuesday at 11 a.m. And then our next regularly scheduled meeting will be in East Helena. Again, note that's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, Monday, my travel day. Okay, sorry. Tuesday, Wednesday, the March 11th and 12th. And with that, we will stand adjourned.